If you live in America, this could have been your neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, two-car driveways, American flags on front porches. The kind of quiet New York suburb where parents feel safe letting teenagers babysit. Because nothing ever happens there. Until it does. In a quiet New York community, less than an hour from Manhattan, a teenage babysitter vanished. No struggle, no witnesses, no body. Yet a man was convicted of her murder in the United States of America without proof she was dead. And that's what makes this case disturbing. Because if this can happen here, in suburban New York, it can happen anywhere. Before we continue, if you love real mystery stories that unravel layer by layer and expose what really hides behind closed doors, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps push stories like this to more people, and it keeps you from missing the next shocking update in this case. Meet the girl. Her name was Hannah Blake, 16 years old, born and raised in New York State, a junior in high school, honor roll student, soft-spoken, dependable, the kind of girl teachers trusted, the kind of girl parents recommended. She wasn't rebellious. She wasn't sneaking out. She wasn't looking for trouble. She was saving for college. Hannah lived with her mother, Laura Blake, in a modest single-family home, divorced household, working-class life, tight budget. Babysitting wasn't optional. It mattered. And in their suburban New York neighborhood, babysitting was practically a rite of passage. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone trusted everyone, especially the Turners. Evan Turner, 32 years old, married, 2 young kids, worked in IT for a mid-sized New York tech firm. Clean record, no criminal history, active in the community, the kind of man police never suspect at first. Evan lived 3 houses down, same block, same sidewalk, same sense of safety. He and his wife, Melissa Turner, hired Hannah when their kids were toddlers. At first, it was occasional, a few hours here, a movie night there, normal. Until it wasn't. When things started to change. By the fall semester, Hannah was babysitting for the Turners nearly every weekend, sometimes on weekdays, sometimes overnight. Evan's job ran late. Melissa traveled frequently for work. Hannah became the solution. Her mom noticed, but didn't question it. Because in America, babysitting for a neighbor feels safe, especially in suburban New York. But something else changed. Hannah started dressing differently, more makeup, different clothes. She became secretive with her phone, smiled at messages she wouldn't explain. Friends noticed too. She stopped hanging out, stopped answering calls, started canceling plans last minute. When asked why, she always said the same thing, "I'm working." Evan told Hannah she was different, that she was mature for her age, that his marriage was already over. Classic grooming, classic manipulation. He told her she made him feel young again, that she understood him better than his wife ever did, that once she turned 18, everything would change. Hannah believed him because she was 16 and he was the adult. Neighbors noticed Evan walking Hannah home, too close, too familiar, sometimes his hand on her back, sometimes whispering, always late. One neighbor later told police, "I thought she was family. That's how comfortable it looked." Melissa noticed too. She confronted Evan once. He denied everything, said Hannah was like a niece. Melissa wanted to believe him. And Hannah? She started pulling away from her mother, avoided eye contact, snapped during arguments. The guilt was eating her alive.
The week Hannah disappeared, things spiraled. Her best friend noticed she was crying at school, said she felt trapped, said she made a huge mistake. Evan, meanwhile, was unraveling. Phone records show frantic late-night calls, long silences, arguments through text. Hannah wanted out. She told him she was going to tell her mother, tell Melissa, end it. And Evan panicked. Friday night, April 17th, Hannah packed an overnight bag, told her mom she was babysitting for the Turners. Nothing unusual. At 12:43 p.m., Hannah sent one final text to her best friend. "I think I messed up really bad." Minutes later, her phone went silent, forever. Evan told police Hannah left at 2 a.m., said they argued, said she stormed out, on foot, in the dark, without her bag, without calling anyone. But phone data contradicted him. Her phone stopped moving hours earlier. Her charger was still in his house, and dogs traced her scent to Evan's driveway. Then nothing. Saturday morning, Melissa returned home early. Hannah wasn't there. The kids were asleep. The house was clean, too clean. Laura Blake waited for her daughter. She never arrived. By evening, she called Evan. No answer. By evening, she called police, and New York law enforcement began asking questions Evan couldn't answer. Detectives uncovered the affair quickly, recovered deleted texts, hotel receipts, explicit photos. Then they searched Evan's computer. What they found changed everything. Google searches. How long before a missing person is presumed dead? How to clean blood? How to clean bleach? Evan said it was for work. Police didn't believe him. New York prosecutors moved fast. Public pressure was intense. A missing teenage girl, a married man, a secret affair. They charged Evan with murder, without a body, without forensic proof. At trial, the jury never heard about out-of-state sightings. They never heard about inconsistencies in police interviews. They never heard about evidence that went missing. They heard one story, and they believed it. Guilty, life sentence, case closed. 5 years later, a package arrived at Laura Blake's house. No return address. Inside, a burner phone, one unread message, time-stamped 3 days earlier. It said, "I didn't die in New York." The message was only 3 words, "I didn't die," sent from a burner phone, time-stamped 5 years after Hannah Blake vanished. Laura Blake read it once, then again, then a 3rd time. Her daughter had been declared dead by the state of New York. A judge signed the paperwork. A jury accepted the story.
A man was sent to prison. And yet the message sat there, glowing, undeniable. The phone wasn't mailed randomly. It was delivered by hand, left between the screen door and the frame, the way Hannah used to leave notes for her mother. No postage, no fingerprints, no explanation. Laura called police immediately. She expected urgency. She got skepticism. The NYPD logged it as possible harassment. They told her grieving parents often receive cruel messages. They said not to get her hopes up. But Laura knew something they didn't. The phone's lock screen had a photo. Not Hannah, a childhood memory. A blurry shot of the Hudson River, taken from a very specific overlook. A place Hannah used to go when she was overwhelmed, a place no one else knew mattered. Laura said one sentence to detectives, "She's alive." They didn't write that down. News of the message reached Sing Sing Correctional Facility within days. Evan Turner had stopped speaking to reporters years earlier, stopped filing appeals, stopped fighting. But when his attorney showed him the photo, he froze.
Then he said something that changed everything. "She made it out." His lawyer asked what he meant. Evan took a long time to answer, then finally said, "I didn't kill her, but I didn't save her either." Evan gave investigators one name, not a suspect, not a witness, a footnote. Michael Rowe. Michael Rowe had been mentioned once in the original case file, once in a supplemental note, then never again. Michael was Evan's closest friend. They grew up together, same high school, same neighborhood, different paths. Michael never married, never stayed anywhere long, worked construction jobs across the Northeast, cash-heavy work, no paper trail. Michael knew about Hannah, not from Evan, from Hannah herself. 2 weeks before the disappearance, Hannah confided in him. She told him everything, the affair, the fear, the threats. She told him she wanted out, but didn't know how. Phone records confirmed it. Hannah met Michael at a diner off I-87, late night after babysitting. Cameras captured them sitting in a booth, talking for nearly 2 hours, Hannah crying, Michael leaning forward, listening. Police had this footage. They labeled it non-essential. The night Hannah disappeared had always felt wrong. Now it felt staged. Evans said Hannah stormed out, but dogs never tracked her beyond the driveway. Cell data told a different story. Her phone moved, briefly, slowly, as if she was in a car. That data was marked anomaly, then buried. By the time inconsistencies surfaced, the media had already decided. Married man, teen babysitter, murder. Prosecutors leaned into it. They needed clarity. They needed outrage. They needed a conviction. A runaway didn't work. A complicated truth didn't sell. 3 weeks after the first phone arrived, another message came through. Same device, same number. It read, "They know you have it." Laura moved out that night, stayed with relatives upstate. She contacted journalists, cold case podcasters, anyone who would listen, and someone did. A retired New York State investigator came forward. He had kept copies, internal emails, trial prep notes, evidence logs. One line stood out. Victim possibly relocated. Proceed anyway. Dated 3 months before Evan's trial. Reporters published everything. The diner footage, the cell data, the suppressed emails. Public reaction was immediate. Anger, disbelief, outrage. New York's Attorney General announced a review. Federal investigators requested records. Evan's conviction was no longer solid. A license plate reader flagged a vehicle crossing into New York. Rental, paid in cash. The driver, Michael Rowe. He didn't resist, didn't deny knowing Hannah. He said one thing during questioning. She chose this. Michael told investigators Hannah planned everything, the timing, the exit, the silence. He said she wanted to disappear, not to escape Evan, but to escape the life she felt trapped in. He said he helped her leave, then stayed away until the trial, when Evan was convicted. Michael said that wasn't the plan. During a search of Michael's belongings, investigators found a folded paper, old, worn, handwritten. It was Hannah's. It read, "Please don't look for me. I need this to be real. If I come back, everything breaks." Evan may not be a murderer, but he isn't innocent either. Michael may not be a hero, but he isn't lying. And Hannah? If she's alive, she's been watching. The burner phone powered on one last time. Location pinged briefly. New York City, near Penn Station. One final message appeared. Unsent, saved as a draft. "I'm not sure I can stay gone anymore." Investigators stared at it, because drafts don't write themselves. Someone typed that. Someone hesitated. Someone was close enough to New York City to feel the pull. Penn Station, Midtown Manhattan, rush hour, thousands of people, one signal, 30 seconds, then gone. Not enough for an arrest, not enough for certainty, enough to change everything. Because Hannah Blake was no longer a theory, she was a presence. If Hannah came back, who would she destroy? The prosecution that hid evidence? The detectives who ignored data? The friend who helped her vanish? The man who let her go? And herself. Laura Blake lived 5 years in grief, then 6 months in confusion. Now she lived in fear. She stopped answering unknown numbers, stopped going to the grocery store alone, slept with the lights on. Because if Hannah was close enough to message, she was close enough to be followed. Laura did something she never thought she would do. She spoke publicly, on the steps of a courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Microphones, cameras, live feeds. Laura stood alone, held a single sheet of paper. Her hands shook. She said, "My daughter is alive. I don't know where she is. I don't know why she left, but I know she didn't die." Then she said one more thing. "If you're watching, you don't have to protect anyone anymore." That sentence traveled fast. 3 hours later, the burner phone turned on. No message, no call, just power. Then another draft appeared, shorter, more careful. "They won't let me explain." Federal investigators wanted that answer. So did journalists. So did Evan Turner. Evan was released pending review. He walked out of prison thinner, older, quiet. He said nothing to cameras, but he told his attorney one thing. She's scared. Michael Rowe had held his line. She chose this. She planned it. She wanted silence. But when the press conference aired, he called investigators, panicked. She wasn't supposed to come back, he said. That sentence changed the tone of the room. Michael finally told the rest. Hannah didn't just want to run. She wanted to disappear completely. New name, new records, no digital trail. Michael had a contact, someone who specialized in that. Not a criminal syndicate, something quieter. Former government contractors, people who knew how systems worked. They called it extraction. Hannah wasn't there first. It wasn't cheap. Cash payments, favors, silence, and one non-negotiable. No contact, ever. Breaking it meant consequences, not violence, exposure. If Hannah came back, every protection unraveled. Investigators asked the obvious, why risk everything now? Michael didn't answer at first. Then he said, because Evan went to prison. Hannah didn't expect that. She thought the affair would come out. She thought Evan would lose his marriage, his job, his reputation. She didn't think he'd lose his life. Hannah watched the trial from a distance. Different hair, different name, different state. She saw Evan convicted, saw Laura collapse in court, saw headlines call her dead, and she stayed silent because speaking meant coming back, and coming back meant everyone paid. The case stayed closed because everyone needed it to. Prosecutors needed a win, police needed a resolution, media needed a villain, and Hannah needed distance until she couldn't carry it anymore. 2 days after Michael's confession, a lawyer in Brooklyn received a package, hand-delivered, no return address. Inside was a notarized affidavit, signed with a name no one recognized, but written in handwriting Laura knew instantly. It began with one sentence, "I am Hannah Blake." She described the
affair, the fear, the pressure. She admitted she planned to leave, admitted Michael helped, admitted Evan didn't stop her. She did not accuse him of murder. She did not call herself a victim. She took responsibility for all of it. The affidavit was unsigned by a witness, unverified, unlocatable, legally useless, emotionally devastating. New York officials released a statement. They acknowledged irregularities. They announced a task force. They promised transparency. But they didn't reopen the case, not yet. Because reopening meant admitting something worse than error. It meant admitting they buried the truth. For the first time, in a quiet room, no cameras, no lawyers, they sat. Laura said, "She's alive." Evan nodded. Then Laura asked, "Did you love her?" Evan didn't answer. The burner phone activated one final time. Location masked. Message sent to one number only. Laura's. It read, "I'm sorry I let them write my ending." Attached was a photo, recent, Hannah, older, tired, standing near water, no landmarks, no clues, just proof. Days later, investigators found something else, hidden inside the phone case, folded twice, faded ink, a note, written long ago, but meant for now. If I come back, someone else becomes the villain. If I stay gone, someone innocent stays punished. I don't know which truth does less damage. If this case has pulled you in and you want justice for Megan, don't leave without clicking like and subscribe. The next part of this investigation is coming, and you do not want to miss what comes next. Let me know in the comments, what do you think really happened to Megan? Do you believe she's still alive? And who do you think is lying? Ben? David Carter? Or someone we haven't even uncovered yet? Your comments help this case and help this channel grow.